Every day, billions of people look down at their phones. Very few look up, but above us, far above the clouds, thousands of machines quietly orbit the Earth. These machines are satellites. We never see them, we never hear them. But modern life depends on them. Without satellites, the world would not work the way it does today. Most people think satellites are only for space science or television. That idea is wrong. Satellites control navigation, communication, weather prediction, banking, time systems, military, defense, internet infrastructure. They are the silent backbone of modern civilization. But what if they suddenly stopped working? Not slowly, not partially, completely. To understand what would happen, we must first understand what satellites actually do. Satellites orbit Earth at incredible speeds. Some stay fixed over one location. Others move constantly around the planet. They send signals, they receive signals, they keep perfect time. This timekeeping is critical. Satellites use atomic clocks, the most accurate clocks ever created. Every second of modern life depends on this timing. Phones, banks, power systems, and communication networks rely on satellite time. Now imagine this timing disappears. At first, nothing looks wrong. People wake up, cities look normal, cars move, lights are on. But something invisible is missing. Phones can't lock onto location. Navigation apps struggle. Weather updates freeze. People think it's a small glitch. But it's not. Within minutes, systems begin to drift. Navigation signals stop updating. GPS locations become inaccurate. Maps start showing wrong positions. Drivers get confused. Delivery vehicles take wrong turns. Ride-sharing apps fail. Emergency vehicles lose guidance. Airports feel the change quickly. Pilots depend on satellite navigation for precision. Flight paths rely on satellite positioning. Landing systems use satellite data. Without it, flights must slow down or stop. Air traffic control switches to older systems, but capacity drops. Delays begin immediately. Ships at sea face danger. Modern ships use satellites to navigate safely. Without them, crews must rely on older methods. In bad weather, this becomes deadly. Weather prediction weakens. Satellites watch storms from space. They track hurricanes, floods, and heatwaves. Without satellite data, forecasts become unreliable. Warnings come late, or not at all. This puts millions at risk. Communication systems feel pressure. Satellites help route calls, internet traffic, and global broadcasts. Some areas lose signal completely. Remote regions go silent. Phones still work locally. But global coordination weakens. Then comes a deeper problem. Time begins to drift. Banks rely on satellite time to confirm transactions. Stock markets use it to timestamp trades. Financial systems depend on perfect synchronization. Without satellite clocks, systems slowly fall out of sync. Transactions fail. Errors appear. Trust weakens. Most people don't notice this yet. But the damage is spreading quietly. Governments begin to investigate. Space agencies search for answers. Is it a solar storm? A cyber attack? A collision in space? Because satellites don't just fail by accident. There are real threats. Space debris, solar flares, cyber interference, military conflict. Above Earth, space is crowded. Thousands of satellites move at extreme speeds. One collision can create debris, and debris can destroy others. This can trigger a chain reaction. One satellite falls. Then another. Then another. A cascade. This is known as space debris syndrome. And once it starts, stopping it is extremely difficult. As hours pass, governments realize the truth. This is not a small problem. This is a global crisis. And this is only the beginning. Because when satellites stop working, the world doesn't just lose convenience. It loses coordination. In the next part, we will see what happens when GPS completely fails, and how fast transportation, aviation, and emergency services descend into chaos. When satellites stop working, one of the first systems to completely fail is GPS. Most people think GPS is only for maps on phones. That is a mistake. GPS controls far more than directions. It guides cars and trucks, ambulances and fire trucks, airplanes, ships at sea, trains, military vehicles. When GPS disappears, the world loses its sense of direction. At first, drivers notice something strange. Navigation apps freeze. Blue dots stop moving. Routes suddenly make no sense. People try restarting phones. Nothing works. Drivers begin relying on memory. Some manage. Many do not. Traffic becomes confused. Wrong turns increase. U-turns block roads. Delivery trucks get lost. Ride-sharing services stop working. Drivers cannot find passengers. Passengers cannot find drivers. Emergency services face serious danger. Ambulances rely on GPS to find the fastest route. Fire trucks use satellite maps to reach burning buildings. Police depend on live location systems. Without GPS, response times increase. Minutes matter in emergencies. Lives are lost, not because help doesn't exist, but because help cannot find the right place. Now the situation becomes critical in the sky. Aviation depends heavily on satellites. Modern airplanes use satellite navigation for flight paths, altitude control, landing accuracy, weather avoidance. When satellites fail, pilots must switch to older navigation systems. These systems still work, but they are limited. Air traffic control slows everything down. Flights are delayed. Some flights are cancelled. Others are grounded completely. Busy airports become quiet. Planes wait on runways. Passengers are stuck inside terminals. International travel collapses quickly. Long-distance flights are the most dangerous. Over oceans, satellites are the main navigation tool. Without them, pilots rely on radio signals and manual calculations. This increases risk. Airlines choose safety over speed. The sky empties. At sea, the situation is just as dangerous. Ships depend on satellite navigation to avoid collisions and find safe routes. Without GPS, ships drift off course. Ports become harder to reach, narrow passages become dangerous. In bad weather, this becomes deadly. Fishing boats struggle to return home. Cargo ships slow down. Global trade begins to suffer. Now trains and public transport feel the impact. Rail systems use satellite timing for coordination. Schedules fall out of sync. Delays increase. Some systems stop completely. Cities feel the pressure. Public transport becomes unreliable. Commuters are late. Crowds build up. Modern logistics begin to collapse. Packages cannot be tracked. Warehouses lose coordination. Supply chains break. Stores wait for deliveries that never arrive. Fuel transport is affected. Gas stations rely on satellite-guided supply chains. Some stations run out of fuel. This creates panic. People rush to fill tanks. Long lines form. Authorities try to calm the public. But without clear information, fear spreads faster than facts. Now governments realize something important. Satellites are not optional. They are critical infrastructure. Losing them is like losing roads, bridges, and traffic rules at the same time. And this is still only transportation. In the next part, we will see what happens when communication, banking systems, military defense, and global coordination lose satellite support, and why this creates serious international risk. As satellite failure continues, the problem spreads beyond roads and skies. Now, the world begins to lose communication. Many people believe phone calls and the internet only depend on ground towers. That is only partly true. Satellites play a huge role in global communication. They connect remote regions, ships and airplanes, international phone calls. TV broadcasts emergency communications. When satellites stop working, communication becomes uneven. In cities, some connections still exist. But in rural areas, mountains, oceans, and remote regions, silence begins. Ships at sea lose contact. Airplanes lose backup communication. Remote villages go dark. International communication slows dramatically. News agencies struggle to gather information. Live broadcasts fail. Global news becomes delayed or incomplete. This creates confusion. People do not know what is happening in other parts of the world. Rumors spread. Fear grows. Now the crisis reaches banking and finance. Most people think banks only need the internet, but banks also depend on satellites. Satellites provide precise time signals. Every digital transaction needs exact timing. Credit card payments, ATM withdrawals, stock trades, global money transfers. Without satellite time, systems fall out of sync. At first, transactions slow down. Then errors appear. Banks begin blocking transfers to prevent mistakes. ATMs stop working in many places. Online payments fail. Stock markets pause trading. Global finance becomes unstable. Markets hate uncertainty. Investors panic. Prices fall. Confidence drops. Countries that depend on international trade suffer heavily. Imports slow. Exports stop. Currencies weaken. Now comes one of the most serious dangers: military and global security. Modern defense systems rely heavily on satellites. Satellites provide surveillance, missile detection, secure communication, navigation for military vehicles. When satellites fail, militaries lose awareness. They cannot see clearly. They cannot communicate securely. They cannot track threats accurately. This is extremely dangerous, because when information is missing, mistakes happen. Countries may misread situations. Defensive systems may fail to detect launches. False alarms may increase. During past incidents, the world came close to disaster. Even with satellites working, without them, the risk increases. Trust between nations weakens. Countries do not know what others are doing, whether an attack is real, whether systems are malfunctioning. This creates tension. Military forces go on high alert. Borders become sensitive. One misunderstanding could lead to conflict. Governments rush to activate backup systems. Old radar systems are turned on. Ground-based communication is restored where possible. Human observation replaces digital tracking. But these systems are slower and less accurate. Decision-making becomes stressful. Now think about weather and disaster response. Satellites watch Earth constantly. They track hurricanes, floods, wildfires, earthquakes, climate patterns. Without satellites, warnings arrive late. Storms hit without preparation. Floods surprise communities. Wildfires spread before detection. Emergency response teams are blind. Lives are lost, not because help doesn't exist, but because information arrives too late. The world feels unstable. Systems that once worked silently in the background are suddenly gone. People realize something frightening. Modern civilization depends on space. Not science fiction space. Real, working machines above Earth. And when those machines fail, the world becomes slower, weaker, and more dangerous. As days pass, pressure builds. The public demands answers. Governments demand solutions. Engineers face the hardest task of their careers. How do you fix a system that orbits the planet? In the final part, we will explore how recovery might happen, the threats that caused the failure, and the most important lessons humanity must learn to protect the future. As days pass without satellites, the world reaches a breaking point. Life has not completely stopped, but it has become slower, riskier, and uncertain. People adapt, because humans always do. But adaptation comes at a cost. Governments, space agencies, and engineers work non-stop. Their mission is clear: restore satellite systems, prevent further damage, protect the future. But fixing satellites is not like fixing a machine on Earth. Satellites orbit thousands of kilometers above us. They move at extreme speeds. They cannot be repaired easily. Some satellites are already lost forever. Others are damaged but still alive. Engineers try to regain control. Commands are sent. Signals are tested. Backup systems are activated. Some satellites respond. Others remain silent. This reveals a harsh truth. Modern civilization depends on machines that humans cannot easily reach. Now attention turns to why this happened. Satellite failure is rarely caused by one single event. There are many real threats in space. One major threat is space debris. Space is filled with broken satellites, metal fragments, and discarded rocket parts. These objects move faster than bullets. One small collision can destroy a satellite. And when a satellite breaks apart, it creates more debris. This can cause a chain reaction. One crash leads to another. Then another. Then another. This makes entire orbits unsafe. Another threat comes from solar storms. The sun releases massive energy bursts. When these storms hit Earth, they can damage satellites. Electronics fail. Signals are disrupted. Systems shut down. In the past, solar storms caused blackouts on Earth. A stronger storm could cripple satellites worldwide. There is also the risk of cyber interference. Satellites are controlled by software. Hackers, criminal groups, or hostile actors could interfere with signals. Even a small attack could cause confusion. And then there is military conflict in space. Some nations have tested weapons that can disable satellites. This turns space into a potential battlefield. A conflict above Earth would affect everyone below it. Now the world faces an important decision. Do we continue building systems that depend on fragile space infrastructure? Or do we create safer backups? Experts begin proposing solutions. More ground-based systems, stronger satellite shielding, international rules to reduce space debris, better emergency preparation. Some countries begin building redundant systems. Navigation backups, offline communication networks, manual control training. Businesses rethink operations. Banks add offline verification. Airlines improve non-satellite navigation training. Hospitals strengthen paper-based backups. People also change. They rely less on automation. They learn offline skills. They understand maps again. They carry cash. The satellite crisis becomes a global lesson. Technology is powerful but fragile. Progress without protection creates risk. Space once felt distant. Now people understand something important. The future of life on Earth depends on what happens above it. Satellites brought humanity incredible benefits. Global communication, accurate navigation, weather safety, economic growth. But dependence without preparation creates vulnerability. The goal is not to fear technology. The goal is to respect it. To prepare for failure. To build resilience. To protect shared systems. Because space belongs to everyone. And what happens in space affects everyone. The satellite crisis may end. Signals may return. Systems may recover. But the lesson must remain. Invisible systems shape our lives. And understanding them is the first step toward protecting our future. Satellites orbit silently above us. They guide us. They protect us. They connect us. But when they fail, the world feels lost. Understanding these systems helps us see the hidden foundations of modern life. Thank you for watching Infinity Documentary, where invisible systems become visible, and knowledge prepares us for the future.